for the big banks, and definitely, when the big banks start releasing earnings, the markets will definitely react. Joining us to unpack what's playing out now, we have Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed. He's the CEO, Finance with Mukhtar, to help us unpack the latest earnings coming out from the banking sector. Great to have you, sir.
Thank you, my pleasure, Ladi.
Fantastic. So there we have it. The latest one now. We see earnings per share there. That's 19.96% up year on year. That's for gross earnings, interest income, 1.83 trillion, up 60% year on year. Interest expenses, 484.5 billion, up 11.55% year on year. And definitely, when these earnings come out, we need strong eyes like yours to help us read between the lines to see what's playing out. So how are you seeing this result so far?
Larry, you see the gross earning. I mean, for me, it's fantastic, about 19.96% year on year.
Right.
That is fantastic. That's 2.521 trillion. That's, 19.96. The cash, that's about gross earning. Interest income, Larry, that's what interests me more.
Right.
1.839 trillion plus. That's 60%. And the exciting thing about this interest income is their core business. Is you see an improvement from where they are. Loan and advancement. That was really what really boosts income interest. Income expensive. Okay, if you look at income interest, then you look at income expensive. You see that income interest is about 60.01. And
right.
This shows that they actually be able to maximize in terms of customer base. That's another exciting thing about them. Their customer base also increased. So net interest, you can look at it also. Fantastic result.
89.45% up year on year.
Fantastic.
Right. So, looking at the results so far, what's it, saying about what's playing out with financial services, most of the tier 1 banks, for H1?
Larry, we've seen Zenith come out with the result, and we saw the other UBA come out with the result, and we've seen no similarity in terms of when you see the profits after tax, you see the growth earning and everything, they are far well apart. So, but let you concentrate on them. What is it telling us? You just brought in the earning per share. That's for me and as an investor.
Right.
That's what excites me more.
Yeah.
Because it's from here that I'll be paid.
Right.
And you can see a bank that is having an earning per share lower by 29.66%, yet increasing its earning. Increasing its dividend payout from 1 naira to 125 crore. That excites me. That's 25% increment on my dividend payout for interim dividend. That's the first time they are doing that. Normally it's 1 naira. So that means your interim dividend has increased by 25%. That is huge. Like we talked about loan and advancement customers. You can see that decline a little bit. But again, cash and cash equivalent, you can see that it increased by 13.07. That means the bank is very, very liquid. Total assets, Ladi, 30.93. That is largely driven by customers. So that tells you they are in the core area of their businesses. Though their investment that comes out to the gross earning. Now, customer deposit, Ladi, 23.43 trillion, increment of 6.94%. So that tells you they are definitely improving in their core area of expertise. It's their core area of business. Before now, we see that a lot of banks get their revenue from just treasury bills and bonds. But now we are seeing where your main revenue is coming from your core area of specialty. And it can only get better when you look at the loan advancement and what they've been able to achieve in a 6-month period. Don't forget, we shouldn't forget that at the beginning of this, at the second quarter, at the beginning of first quarter of this year, we were made to understand that because of the forbearance issue, banks will not be able to pay dividend. And Zenith Bank was one of those banks that was mentioned at that time that could have challenges paying dividend for the next 2 years. And here we are, we're seeing a dividend of increment of 25%. Thumb up to the management team for
right.
that.
Quite an impressive one. But definitely with all these results, there are always the parts that seem to be a point of worry, at this point. Which parts would you say are worrisome for you looking at the result?
And Larry, the other part you've seen a little worrisome, and that also will be tied to the economy issues that we are seeing in the land, and that their risk management level is very, very efficient. Loan and advancement to customers, you see a decrease by minus 3 points. So that, I'm sure they're standing up, looking at the volatile microeconomic environment. So trying to look at the risks in terms of borrowing too much, because again, they are concentrating more on their core area. So that, for me, is just my own take, one of those challenging points But again, if you look at it, minus 3 point something, that is not necessarily that huge. Like it would have been saying like 40% of it. But that tells you they have a strong risk management team, looking at the microeconomic headwind and making plans, advancement, trying to minimize the kind of losses that we would see through loan and advancement to customers.
Right. So, definitely we know the economy, has a way of, dampening business and all of that. We're expecting the MPC to make a rate decision, coming next week. And, most of the time you believe higher interest rates, when rates are higher, that's good for the banks. I want to believe expectation that we might see rate cuts, coming. What are you seeing? How are you seeing that play into financial services?
If a rate cut comes in, that's why I say they're interested in their core area. And you could see that expansion in terms of areas, like in terms of loan advancement, like we've talked about. You've seen also the expansion into also bonds and treasury bill. Within a 6-month period, you see an increment there of about 78%. So when you look at that, then again, you are seeing a bank that is positioned already to absorb any shock. Shareholder fund, Ladi, that's one thing nobody is looking at. If you look at the shareholders fund have increased to 4.57 trillion. That is huge. That is huge. And then they recapitalize bit. They've improved their recapitalization. CBN is saying recapitalization of 500 billion. Zenith Bank has gone as high as making the recap about 612 point something billion. So that tells you that a bank that's highly capitalized and then will be able to absorb any shock. Like I said, their risk management issue is key to what the kind of result you are seeing here now. Then you look at for investors. Investors that had yesterday that result was released. Investors that have made about 45.1% already on the share of Zenith Bank. That is also very, 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 very huge.
Right.
So definitely headwinds may come in, like you talk about the interest rate, but you can see a bank that is diversified in terms of preparing itself for its headwinds with enough liquidity. That is why you can see a bank with an earning of 12 naira 99 kobo, negative of almost 30%, still increasing your dividend payout by 25%. That tells you a bank that is well-oiled, well-managed, have a lot of reserve to absorb any shocks that comes in.
Right. And what is this telling us about, the international business? Because they also, operate in other countries.
Yeah, we didn't see that here. If you look at their FS gain also, it was huge. And that tells you the international branches are seems to be bringing in the funds. Well, you could see that again, they are improving. They are not really opening new branches. They are rather solidifying their international branch. Shouldn't forget that of recent, they are a major city of the world. I think they are in Paris. They've opened a branch in Paris. They are in New York. So definitely in terms of the international business, I think they are doing very, very well. And like I said, they have already improved. They have already scaled the CBN recapitalization drive. That also we could see Zenith Bank expanding. Remember, Zenith Bank also in China. They had that. They are one of the big players in China.
And we do a lot of business with China.
Exactly. So they are already stationed in China. So when you look at Nigeria and China, China is the home of every Nigerian businessman. And you could also see that customers are very impressed that you see the improvement in terms of their customer base was improved by about 23 point something%. That is huge. And that tells you that Nigerians are more now banking with Zenith Bank, especially the retail side of Zenith Bank. We're made to understand before that Zenith Bank is just for the corporates. But now we are seeing an improvement, and Zenith Bank is outgoing there, getting more people into depositing their funds with them. That tells you confident in them.
It's funny how, narratives can sometimes lock a company where they don't want to be, locked. But, definitely we've seen H1 now. What is this telling us? We need forward guidance. What's H2 going to look like?
Ladi, I'm excited about H2 because already, if I'm already seeing a 25% hike in dividend payment. I talk like an investor. And so if you talk from the place of investor, then you are looking at, will that be a 25% in the final dividend payout? That also will be huge compared to what they paid last year. And you have to say it again, the management team said that they were going to actually improve the dividend payout. And I think they've started it this year. They've started it positively, marking their word with action. No, what do I expect? I expect an improvement. Because what you see in terms of Zenith Bank performance, all through the years, you see that the final 2 quarters are always stronger than the first 2 quarters. So when you go to buy the antecedent, you cannot but expect that the final 2 quarters of this year will be stronger than what we've seen. And that, again, we might begin to see the type of, in terms of improvement in earning per share, improvement in gross earning. Gross earning increased by 19 point something percent. But like I said, if you look at their result, if you follow the trend of Zenith Bank, performance towards the last half year is always more impressive than the first half of the year.
Okay. Well, I guess we're here now, and at the end of the year, I'm sure we'll get the H2 as into 2026. Definitely we'll see how this whole sector, plays out. We're expecting more earnings, coming out, and definitely I know you help us unpack them, as they come. Thank you so much, Mr. Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO, Finance with Mukhtar. Thank you for coming on today.
My pleasure. Always.
TGIF.